everybody doing today? Welcome back here today to my first positional ranking for the 2025 NBA draft. I pretty much finalized my official big board that I'm trying to get over 70 prospects this year, way bigger than last year's, which was around 40 to 50 prospects. So I'm actually going to try to break this down by position. Last year, I did it big by basically like archetype, or just like big wing and a guard. But this year, I'm going to try to do point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center. It's going to be a little bit interesting to differentiate at least like the twos to the threes and the threes to the fours. But I think the ones are fairly easy. There's one player though that I think like could be a shooting guard, at least on offense, but needs to be like a point guard on defense. But I'll get to him later on. Some of these guys can be considered shooting guards. So, hey, it's not going to be the end of the world. Guys like VJ Edgecombe will not be in here. Trey Johnson will not be in here. Those guys will be in the shooting guard episode, which should be coming up very soon. And then we're going to kind of ramp this up to the NBA draft. Like I said, I want to do like 60, 70 plus prospects, which is going to be my final big board video. We'll definitely come out on the Sross channel, but it may end up becoming a full like breakdown here on Just Ballin'. So we'll start off with, I actually have like two honorable mentions. I technically have 17 guys because I kind of wanted to mention some of them. The first honorable mention that I think is probably going to be undrafted, but I honestly, I was very surprised he kept his name in the NBA draft, is RJ Lewis from St. John's. He started off his career in the A10 playing for UMass, and then he spent the last 2 years playing under Rick Pitino at St. John's. He was the best player on the team last year for a team that was a 2 seed in the March Madness tournament, that won the Big East, that beat UConn multiple times. He was second All-American, consensus All-American in 2025. He was a really good player last year, especially on the defensive end of the floor, because without shoes, he measured in at the combine in his anthro measurements at 6'5" and 3/4, 210 pounds, 6'10" and a quarter, or in a 3/4 wingspan, 8'7" and a half standing reach. So, hey, for a point guard, like that's very intriguing. There's another guy that has similar measurements that we'll get to later on, that is going to be like my favorite sleeper in the draft. But I just think like between RJ Lewis and some of these other guys, the shot like did get better and better over the course of his collegiate career. Now, it wasn't great in 2024, and it was a lot better in 2025. He ended up shooting around 44% from the field, 33.5% from three, 74% from the free throw line. He averaged around 18.2 points, 2.2 turnovers, 7.2 rebounds, and just 2 assists a night. So like RJ Lewis, it's weird because he's not really a true point guard, but he's also nowhere near of a shooter to be considered a shooting guard, in my opinion. I think there could be some interesting 3-and-D potential in Lewis's game. I would think about it depending on like what your team is looking like and how the draft falls, but I would feel a lot more comfortable getting RJ Lewis as an undrafted free agent. He could have went back to school for another year. I'm really surprised he didn't, because there's a chance he's undrafted and he would have made a lot more money going back to St. John's or entering the transfer portal. It's just really, can you work on a shot, develop his shot, and can you buy into it? It looks okay. He's not great like as a pull-up shooter or off the dribble. He needs to be a catch and shoot guy, but I think his size and his semi-good ball handling makes him an intriguing 3-and-D like converted shooting guard one day. That could also be like a pseudo combo guard. He doesn't have great court vision, sometimes struggles finishing at the rim, but I think is definitely worth an undrafted free agent flyer. And then my next honorable mention coming in technically at number 16. I really wanted to put him in here, but it's just like when you're ranking out these point guards, I just dropped them a little bit more because I do worry about the efficiency and also the size as well. So coming in next up is Chucky Hepburn from Louisville. He did spend 3 years at Wisconsin. It's something we're going to be learning for a lot of these prospects now, just because of the NIL and the transfer portal. Not many of these guys, unless they're freshmen, only played one school at the collegiate level. But Hepburn measured in at 6 foot flat, or 6 foot and a half, barefoot, 189 pounds, 6'4" and a half wingspan, and 8 foot and a half standing reach. So he is definitely a smaller guard. Now, there's another small guard that we'll get to later on, but Hepburn's a lot better of a defender than a lot of these point guards that we're going to mention. I think he has like similar defensive upside to like RJ Lewis, but in a different way. Low to the ground, great point of attack defender, can be a pest out there as well. 2.4 steals, one of the highest steal rates out of anybody in the country, and he also averaged 5.8 assists and a 31.3% assist ratio, which actually puts him number 7 in the class as well. And he's just an absolute gamer, man. I enjoyed watching Chucky Hepburn play for one of the best storylines this past year in the Louisville Cardinals that were just a really embarrassing team for a while under Kenny Payne, and then yeah, that their coach this year, which I'm blanking on his name, Pat Kelsey, like turned them into one of the best storylines. He finished 43% from the field, 32% from three, but 84% from the free throw line, and can get downhill, can kind of finish around the rim as well. I just think like you're gonna have a tough time playing him out there sometimes because the 3-point shot was very inconsistent. It peaked in his sophomore year at Wisconsin. 40% from three. So he has that in him, but it's just like last year and in 2024 with a little bit, well, I guess more so last year as a larger role as like one of the main initiators on that Louisville offense, he took a hit with his inefficiency or his efficiency, excuse me. And I just think now it's a little bit questionable at the NBA level, a little bit undersized. Can he finish at the rim at a good enough rate to stay alive at the NBA level? But I honestly don't think he's that far behind like Jamal Shead last year as a prospect. So I do think Hepburn is worth a flyer in the late second round, or definitely is an undrafted free agent. So let's kick off this top 15. Coming in at number 15, somebody that people thought could have been like a first rounder last year. He was a preseason All-American, one of the favorites to win the National Player of the Year award, but didn't really have as good of a season as he did in 24. And that is Mark Sears of the Alabama Crimson Tide, one of the smaller players in this draft. Without shoes, he measured in at 5'10" and 3/4 barefoot, 183 pounds, 6'2" wingspan, and a 7'8.5" standing reach. I mentioned that 2024 season for Alabama. He put up 21.5 points, 4.2 rebounds, 4 assists, 50, 43, 86 splits, and he took that Alabama team to a 25-12 record that year, and they ended up losing in the semifinals to UConn. Obviously, a lot of people lost to UConn that year. But in 2025, the field goal percentage dropped from 50% to 40%, 43% from three to 34% from three. Even the free throw percentage took a slight hit as well, 18 points. The assists did go up, and Mark Sears is still a very crafty scorer, and I still believe in him to be a solid offensive player. He's 23 years old, though, so I don't think he's going to develop too much, but he had one of the higher usage rates out of any of the guards in this class. He had a very high workload this year as well. It's just you saw him play so well in that 2024 season, and you look at just kind of the shot selection this year, a lot of hero ball from him out of this year as well, and he was pretty much below average in like true shooting percentage. He isn't like the best playmaker in the world, but he does have some potential in there, and finishing at the rim 47% from the field. When we get to Dylan Harper, and that's like north of 60%, I think Dylan Harper, I'll get to my numbers later on. Actually, I pretty much have it up, but Dylan Harper finished at the rim. Let me see. I thought 65% at the rim, and Mark Sears is 47%. So a massive difference there. Size can go into a lot of that. But Sears was a really good shooter in high school. He's been a good shooter in college. He ended up shooting about 40% from three in high school, and then ended up shooting about 38% from three at the college level. So yeah, he's not super tall. He's not going to be a great defender. It's just, can he be elite enough as a shooter to stay in the NBA for a long time? It's tough though with these smaller guards. Like, you don't really see this happen too much, that lack athleticism. Guys like Carson Edwards, Marcus Howard, Cassius Winston, they kind of come and go. Yeah, you see guys like Peyton Pritchard stay, and there's some other smaller guards that we'll get to later on. I just don't believe Mark Sears is going to be like a long-term good role player. There's a chance he could be a solid like rotational piece for you at one point, but yeah, he's coming in at number 15 for me. All right, so next up at number 14, somebody I really didn't have my eye on too much throughout the college regular season, but after the season ended, kind of heard his name a little bit and wanted to dive more in the tape, and I came away very impressed with Javon Small over at West Virginia. So Small, kind of like Sears, and even Chucky Hepburn, on the smaller side for some of the modern NBA guards, but he did measure in bigger than Mark Sears, 6'1" barefoot, 190 pounds, 6'4" and a 3/4 wingspan, and an 8-foot standing reach. I didn't mention it before, but Sears started his career at Ohio, and Javon Small played for 3 different teams at the college level: East Carolina in 2022, East Carolina in 2023, Oklahoma State in 2024, and then stayed in the Big 12 for 2025, where he played at West Virginia. He did have his probably most efficient season with Oklahoma State in 24, so he did take a little bit of a step back in 2025, but honestly, like, a main reason why West Virginia didn't end up making the tournament, they mentioned because Tucker DeVry got hurt throughout the year and he was their best player. Well, no, Javon Small, in my opinion, was the best Mountaineer last year. He ended up shooting 42% from the field, 35% from three, though, on 7 attempts a night. So now we have two back-to-back years of over 5 attempts a night. Well, 2 back-to-back years. Wow, great wording by me. But back-to-back years, over 5 attempts a night in each season, and shot over 35% from 3 in each season. He shot over 80% from the free throw line every single year of his college career. He averaged 5.6 assists and 4.1 rebounds last year as well. He had a 35.1 assist percentage last year, which puts him actually 4th in this class out of all players. He's a little bit better at attacking the rim or he's a lot better, I should say, than Mark Sears. 60% at the rim on 71 attempts this year. Mid-range was about 34.5% on 90 attempts, and the three-point shot was 195 attempts this year, and ended up shooting 36 or 35-ish% from three. So yeah, I am pretty high on Small as an offensive creator at the NBA level. He's a pretty good rebounder too for somebody at his size. Very physical. Kind of can show off his strength too, getting downhill. A little bit of Andrew Nembhard type in him. And yeah, I have him coming in at number 14. Definitely worth a second round pick. And everybody, like, I would say RJ Lewis and Chucky Hepburn are guys that I'm racing to the phone to get an undrafted free agent call in. More so Hepburn than Lewis. I would think about Sears like very late in the second round, and I would definitely take Javon Small in the second round. All right, so next up, I do have Ryan Nembhard of the Gonzaga Bulldogs coming in at number 13. Nembhard also on the smaller side as well. He basically ended up measuring in at 5'11" barefoot, around 175 pounds. And Nembhard, long college player, 4 years. I guess that's not long now, right? You may get 5 or 6 year guys. Started his career at Creighton in 2022 and in 2023. Ended up going to Gonzaga in 2024 and 2025, and has been one of the best pure passing point guards in the country over the last 2 years. 6.9 assists in 2024. Led the conference, and 9.8 assists, one of the best rates in all of college basketball, a 41.5% assist percentage, which puts him number 2 in this class. I actually don't know if number 1 is on this list. He is actually on this list, but number 1 college player. The other guy's an international guy ahead of him. But yeah, Nembhard was incredible getting his teammates involved, and he's somebody that kind of stands out. And he's somebody that just doesn't make a lot of bad plays either. He did average 2.5 turnovers, but with his usage and the amount of times he had the ball in his hands, I'll take that any day of the week. Because guys like Kasparas Akichonis, you can see the turnovers will be a lot higher, as we'll get to later in this. But Nembhard has been pretty efficient throughout most of his college career. You would like him to be a little bit more efficient at the rim. It is tough for somebody at his size. Last year in the half court, he shot around 60% though at the rim on 55 attempts, 36% on mid-range jumpers on 93 attempts, and he shot around 45% from three. Or no, he ended up shooting 40% from three, last year on 2.7 attempts. 44% from the field, pretty much in line with what he did in 2024. And it's just like I said, I think somebody that can operate at the pick and roll, can navigate ball screens, can get his teammates involved. He's on the smaller side. He's not as big or physical as his older brother, Andrew Nembhard, who's obviously everybody's favorite playoff riser and has had his moments in the playoffs in his own right. And I do think Nembhard is worth a second rounder. TJ McConnell-esque, but not as probably crafty as a mid-range scorer, but definitely way better of a passer and initiator. And I think if you're looking for like a third string point guard that can eventually become your backup point guard one day, you grab Ryan Nembhard in the second round. All right, next up, we have the biggest player probably we're going to mention, or one of, here on the point guard list, and I think one of the more intriguing point guard prospects in this draft. He could be a 2, he could be a 3, so I think you could debate me as well if you think he's going to be a point guard. I'm watching him and I'm saying, like, he's worth a second round pick if you could play him at the 1, because I think that's where he can get his most value, and that is Kobe Sanders of Nevada. He measured in at 6'7" barefoot, 203 pounds. 6'8" wingspan, and an 8'7" standing reach. Last year for Nevada, he averaged 15.8 points, 3.9 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 46% from the field, 34% from three, and about 80% from the free throw line. It was definitely his best year, efficiency wise and stats wise, combined. Well, I guess in 2024, he did average 19.5 points for Cal Poly Tech, where he spent 4 years out. So he's on the older side as well. It was his 5th year of college basketball, but he took a massive improvement. Not good. In his freshman, sophomore, and junior year at Cal Poly, under 40% from the field, under basically 34% from three in sophomore, junior years, but got better and better over the course of his career. But it's just somebody that can get downhill, that can play, make, initiate, has good court vision, doesn't turn the ball over a lot, and great size. He's 23 years old. I don't think there's a ton of room for him to get better, but for somebody that's 6'7" without shoes, that had the 9th best assist percentage in this class, 29.9%. That's incredibly impressive. All the guys ahead of him in this class are like pure point guards, and maybe the only person that is similar in size is Yegor Demin. So the fact that Kobe Sanders was able to not turn the ball over a lot, get his teammates involved, be 6'7", be above average shooter or good enough. I think is really impressive as a prospect. He's one of 4 guards that had over a 6 box plus minus, over a 27% assist percentage, and over a usage rate of 27% as well. The other guys were Javon Small, Dylan Harper, and Cam Jones. So pretty good company for Kobe Sanders to be involved in. And I think he's just somebody that is just worth a high second round pick as the potential he has. Like I said, 23 years old, not a ton of room for growth, but he finished just fine at the rim, 57%, solid mid-range shooter. The three-point shot can be inconsistent at times, and basically for every NBA prospect that's not like a rim protecting center, if they can't shoot, they're not going to be in the NBA for a long time, right? Like Andre Roberson, one of the best defenders in the NBA at his time, but he just could not shoot whatsoever. Matisse Thybulle, one of the best defenders in the NBA at his peak, but if you just can't shoot, it's tough to stay in the NBA. Right? You got to be able to score the basketball. So if these guys are not going to hit their shots in the NBA, they're just not going to work out. So if Kobe Sanders hits his shots in the NBA, he's going to be, I think, one of the more value picks in this draft, coming in at number 12. All right, coming in at number 11, somebody that I think would have been a fringe first rounder, but definitely a top 45 pick last year, Hunter Sallis of Wake Forest. So he started off his career at Gonzaga, and then when he left Gonzaga, Ryan Nembhard got there. He spent the last 2 years at Wake Forest. Like I said, I think he could have been a fringe first rounder last year in a weaker draft where he shot 48% from the field, 40% from three, about 78% from the line, averaged 18 points for the Demon Deacons. And this year, Hunter Sallis' value definitely took a little bit of a hit. It's a deeper draft class, and he did take a hit in his efficiency. 45% from the field, down 3% from last year, but most notably, 27% from three, down 13% from 2025, and he took about similar attempts per game. He averaged around 2.8 assists, 5.1 points. He's interesting as well. He's somebody that you think could be a combo guard at the next level, maybe more of a shooting guard, so hey, that's fine. But he's making this list coming in at number 11. He's going to be 22 years old, and I think his defense improved a lot. That's why I have him as high as I do, because I think he's a good ball handler. I think based off what I saw in 2024, because when I was scouting him for last year's draft, I fell in love with his shot, and it sucks that it just didn't fall this year, but he's still a really good free throw shooter. He's been over 78% for the last 3 years, career high in free throw percentage last year, career high in free throw rate last year as well in his college career. Still averaged 18 points. He's a good rebounder. He's physical, and I think the defense improved a lot. I think he mentioned it at the combine as well, that he knows his shot took a hit this year, but he thinks his defense really improved, and that showed out on tape in my opinion. So I think if you're looking for somebody that has good size, good ball handling ability, potential in a shot, but hey, it could be as bad as it was in 2025. But if it is there like it was in 2024, with his improvement on defense, ball handling, court vision, and ability to run the floor, I like him a ton in the second round. Just missing out on the top 10, coming in at number 11. All right, coming in at number 10 to kickstart off the top 10, I got Tyrese Proctor from Duke, another guy that's kind of a combo guard in a way, because he's got good size, and he played a little bit of both last year at Duke. 6'4" and a quarter barefoot, 183 pounds, great size, 6'7" and a quarter wingspan, 8'4" and a half standing reach. So he's got a lot more size than basically everybody we've talked about outside of maybe Kobe Sanders and similar to Hunter Sallis. But he's somebody that was a great shooter last year at Duke, somebody that was just a winning player. He's a little bit younger than some guys, a little bit older than some others. He's 21 years old, but with guys like Tahad Pettiford, LeBaron Philon not being in this class and some other guards, he's going to be one of the more younger guys, because a lot of these people that we're talking about in the second round are 4th or 5th year guys in college basketball. But Proctor had his best shooting season of his career last year. He averaged 12.4 points, 3 rebounds, 2.2 assists, 45% from the field, 40% from three. Did struggle at the free throw line, which is weird that his free throw percentage has been kind of cratering over the course of his career. 87% from the line as a freshman, 75% as a sophomore, 68% as a junior. And I just feel like Proctor is somebody that doesn't really make a lot of bad decisions. I know he had a bad tournament, or an inconsistent tournament. There were some ups and there were some downs, but I think he's just like a cerebral combo guard, and he can pretty much thrive in almost like honestly most systems at the NBA level. He's getting a lot of Derek White comps, and I do see that as well. He's not the most athletic player in the world, and he's not the most physical at the rim, but I do think he is somebody that can finish with finesse. He can get around defenders. He can make acrobatic layups. He's a great three-point shooter. He's not going to take a bad shot. He's going to make the extra pass. And I do wonder if he needs to be in the right defensive system to not be like a liability out there. How is he going to look in rotations? Will he be able to look at cutters in a different way, depending on who he's coached by and who his help defenders are? Because Sion James, Cooper Flagg, Kamal Maliwatch, he was able to play with Mason Gillis on the defensive end of the floor. He may go to a terrible defensive team next year that doesn't have a ton of help defenders, but I think he's somebody that needs to finish a little bit better at the rim. I would like for him to be a better free throw shooter and just not make, I think, some poor decisions defensively, picking up guys in the half court. But either way, I think he's a very safe point guard prospect. I mean, if the Clippers took him at 30, or the Suns at 29, or the Celtics at 28, I mean, I wouldn't hate that. It's a little bit high, but I do think Proctor's ceiling is definitely a very late first round pick in this year's draft. All right, so next up, one of my favorite prospects in this draft that I think is getting a little bit overlooked, and that's Cameron Jones from Marquette. 4-year player at Marquette, one of the few guys, I guess like Proctor, that spent multiple years in this class only for one team, and he did that for Marquette. He basically became more of a full-time player, I guess like increase in minutes and starts in his sophomore year in 2023, where he was playing with Oso Ighodaro and Tyler Kolek and those guys, and Stevie Mitchell. 15 points as a sophomore on solid shooting. He's never been a great free throw shooter, but he shot 36% from three on 7.7 attempts as a sophomore, 46 from the field. 2024, 50% from the field, 40% from three, career high in free throw percentage, 72%, 17 points, 2.5 assists, 3 rebounds. Now, Kolek leaves, Ighodaro leaves, and he's now the main guy at Marquette. I think there was a chance Cam Jones in a weaker class last year could have been a first-round pick as well. His efficiency did take a hit this year, but the usage went up a ton. He was the main guy at Marquette, where his efficiency went from 50% in 24, 48% in 25, 40% from three in 2024 to 31% in 2025. So it took a noticeable hit there, but he was a really good three-point shooter on good volume in 23 and 24. He averaged 19 points, but honestly, like him averaging 6 assists and being as much of a creative initiator as he was, 4.5 rebounds in the Big East, I think his growth as a facilitator is super noteworthy, because now I think there's real potential for him as a combo guard in the NBA. Maybe he was more of a 2, but now I think you can play him as a 1. He's 6'3" and a quarter barefoot, 202 pounds, 6'6" wingspan, 8'4" standing reach. But I do think there is real upside to Cam Jones as basically a two-way player at the NBA level. When he was off the floor at Marquette, now it's not the greatest bench in the world, but that defense basically plummeted. I think for him, like the biggest swing skill is going to be his shot, because if he can combine the 2024 shooting splits with the playmaking in 2025, he's a top 20 player in this class. I think my midseason update, I had him close to that range as well, and I'm definitely higher on Cam Jones than the consensus. Really high offensive IQ, defensive IQ as well. Like, he's not the most athletic combo guard in the world, doesn't have the biggest size, but man, he communicates well, he can switch well, he knows where to be on the floor, he tags rollers, and I think he's just a super, like, big competitor and one of the best motors in this class. He's probably not going to get too much better than like what we've seen at Marquette, given his age and his athleticism, and he's definitely done growing in his life, but I do think he's a safe prospect in this draft, coming in at number 8 for me. All right, so next up, I do have Walter Clayton Jr. of the Florida Gators, somebody that was definitely a March Madness riser, given his clutch gene and his shooting ability. Last year, for the national champion Florida Gators, Clayton was the best player on that championship team. He actually played his freshman and sophomore year with Rick Pitino at Iona, but did not go to St. John's with Rick Pitino, which would have been, oh my God, Rick Pitino with Walter Clayton would have been fun. But he goes to Todd Golden's team in Florida, and definitely was the best decision he could have made. Last year for the Gators, about 45% from the field, 38% from 3 on 8 attempts a night, 87% from the free throw line, so an elite shooter at the stripe, 18 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds a night for the best player on the best team last year. He finished with a 60% true shooting percentage, which is very impressive and way above average for somebody with his usage rate and being at a guard. A little bit of a smaller guy, not the best athlete in the world, so he wasn't the best player shooting at the rim. And if you look at some of the on-off numbers, I mean, Florida was just a really good team, and he played with some very good bigs that I think relied a lot on that system over there at Florida. But hey, the guy that got him to his spots was Walter Clayton. He was the most outstanding player. He was a consensus first-team All-American, the SEC tournament MVP, second-team All-SEC. He was a first-team All-MAAC back in 23 for Iona. Like, he's got an incredible track record at college basketball, or just playing college basketball, and I think he's just an elite perimeter shooter. He's one of the best shooters in this class, especially at the guard position. He can hit incredibly difficult shots. Like, I'm going to get to Nolan Traore later, but that's somebody that very like he struggles to hit difficult shots, and I'd like to see that sometimes in these guards that are going to rely a lot on their offensive creation and finishing off 2 feet or finishing floaters at the rim. But he can space the floor. He's not a great defender. He's maybe not a great passer either for a point guard because his assist to turnover ratio wasn't perfect. It was a 1.69 last year for the Gators. But if you're looking for somebody that is an elite shooter that knows where to be on the floor, maybe not like Jared McCain, but I think he's close to Jared McCain, at least as, I mean, McCain was younger coming out of Duke, but Clayton being 22 years old is close to pretty much what he's going to be in this. So it's going to be the question mark for him. Can he finish within contact? Can he be efficient at the rim? Or is he going to struggle in that department against bigger, stronger, and more physical NBA bigs and wings? So yeah, Clayton though, there's a lot of good fits. I don't think he's going to go as high as 16 to Orlando, but Orlando's second first round pick, I don't mind. Maybe Brooklyn, if they don't go guard with their first 3 first, they can grab him at 27. Maybe the Suns try to grab him. Maybe the Clippers try to grab him. I think the most fun fit would be Boston at 28 though. All right, next up, I do have Ben Serif coming in at number 7 from Ratio Farm over in Germany. So the first international prospect we have, only have 2 compared to like what we had last year. Like Sergio Delario would have made this, but he's not going into the 2025 draft. Ben Serif is somebody that's 6'5", about 200 pounds, pretty impressive wingspan, 6'7.25". He's born in 2006, so he's 19 years old, which is just crazy. He averaged 12.5 points for Farm this year, 2.6 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 45% from the field, 30 from 3, 75% from the free throw line. It did get better and better over the course of the season for Ben Serif. He did struggle with his efficiency to start off the year, but he's an incredible playmaker for somebody that can navigate ball screens, run the high pick and roll. For his size, that is very ideal for the modern NBA. And I think, yeah, he's going to benefit a lot playing with hopefully a good rim running big and somebody that's a great screen setter. And he's a lot better of a defender, in my opinion, than some of these other prospects that we've talked about. He's a better defender than Walter Clayton. He's a better defender than Ryan Nembhard, Javon Small, Mark Sears in this class. You can make an argument he's better than Sanders, Salas, and Proctor, and maybe the best guy that we have so far defensively outside of maybe Chucky Hepburn. You wonder how is he going to be physical enough at the NBA level? But he's got like a really good track record both in Israel and in Germany. He was basically somebody that averaged 28.1 points in the under 18s for the 2024 FIBA Eurobasket. Like Nolan Traore played well in that as well. And he was the MVP in that tournament as well. He's a very creative passer as well. He kind of makes plays that I'm like, oh, that shouldn't have happened. That should have been a turnover. Why is he even throwing that? But hey, the pass gets through. And he's got, I think, leadership mentality. He's a very competitive guy as well. And he's one of the best passers in this class either. It's just like a lot of these guys, how is the shot going to look? Is he going to be able to be somebody that can be a consistent 3-point shooter, or is he going to shoot sub 30%? I know there's another Ratio Farm guard that had some shooting questions in Killian Hayes that never shot well at the NBA level. So he might get the comp. They really don't play anything alike, but I do think he's got a little bit of Tyrese Halliburton in him, given the size, but it's really just a 3-point shot. It's not real. I'm not really comparing him to Tyrese Halliburton's shot, but it's more so the size, the physicality, the vision, and somebody that can maybe be a top point guard in the NBA one day. He does have that potential. There's a lot of fun fits. I think Brooklyn could be a good fit. Miami could be an interesting fit if they're going to look into him as well. OKC probably wouldn't be a great fit since Topic is coming back. Indiana, honestly, could be a good fit as well if they're probably not going to plan on playing this rookie too many minutes. They could target Ben Serif in this draft. So he's coming in at number 7. Do have Yegor Demon of the BYU Cougars. Somebody I'm a little bit lower on than the consensus. I've seen him, or at least in mocks as well. Like I've seen Demon mocked to like the Hawks in the lottery, the Blazers in the lottery. I don't really get it. But yeah, Yegor Demon measured in 6'8" and a quarter barefoot. He's 6'9" at the minimum with shoes, 199 pounds, 6'10" and a quarter wingspan, 8'9.5" standing reach, the largest point guard prospect here, and he's still just 19 years old. There's a chance he could be 6'10" if he's done growing at the NBA level. Last year for BYU, he averaged 10.5 points, 4 rebounds, 5.5 assists, but the efficiency was not great. 41% from the field, 27% from 3, 69% from the free throw line. But you can make an argument, and I tweeted out my superlatives on Twitter. He is the best passer in this class. He's got great feel for the game, coming over from Russia, and then starting his career there, playing at Real Madrid, basically signing a 6-year contract with them when he was 15 years old. Like, that's insane. And then coming over to BYU, playing under Kevin Young's system, like it's a completely different shift for somebody at his age. He averaged 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists at the Adidas Next Gen tournament, and he helped Real Madrid secure its second consecutive title over there as well. And he's just somebody, oh man, like the swing on him from being maybe a top 5 player in this class to being like a bottom 20 player that gets drafted is kind of crazy, because man, he does feel like he could be a little bit more twitchy dribbling the ball, but with his size, with his passing ability, which is incredible, the court vision is great. I just don't know how he's going to be as a shooter. It's just like a big question mark, because he was not a great shooter last year. But if you have somebody that could be like Anthony Black, I feel like was kind of like this, or Stephon Castle as well. Are they going to be more of a wing? Are they going to be more of a guard? But Devin is a lot better of a passer than those guys were. And I think defensively, though, probably not as good as those guys were either. I think he needs to improve, like just navigating screens. I think on that end of the floor, he's not the quickest guy, or not the best when it comes to lateral agility as well. And how is he going to recover at the NBA level? He gets a lot of comps to like Kyle Anderson, Josh Giddey, which I see a little bit in him. It's just a very intriguing prospect nonetheless. So I don't want to be too low. I don't want to be too high. So I'm being conservative, putting him in here at number 6. So next up at number 5 to kickstart off the top 5, my second international guy in this class, joining Ben Serif, I do have Nolan Traore, who was once, I think he was my 3rd or 4th prospect on my big board last summer, coming off like what he did in the Adidas under 18 tournament. And he was just incredible in that he was, man, the playmaking ability, the crafty scoring. He scored, it was the 45-point game in the Next Gen tournament against Barcelona. And it's like, okay, I think he could be better than Dylan Harper, but it was a lackluster shooting year for Traore. He averaged 12.2 points for St. Quentin, a very physical league over there in France. 1.9 rebounds, 4.7 assists, but 41% from the field, 30% from 3, and 71% from the free throw line. Now, the numbers did get better towards the end of the year, and he had basically 30.4% usage rate, which is the 5th highest in this class for somebody at his age in that very, I guess, talented league over there. It's not like SEC good or Big Ten good, but you know, it's a respectable college conference in a way. And he did also have a 42.8 assist percentage, which puts him number 1 in this class, 99 percentile. An incredible passer. He's somebody that can navigate ball screens, that can move well up and down the floor, that can run in transition. Like, if a team wants to add pace, there you go. Grab Nolan Traore in this draft. But I mentioned it before, I would just like to see him hit more difficult shots. I know, like, that's asking a lot sometimes, but hey, I want to see you hit a contested floater. I want to see you try to bang something off the glass. Go off more with your weak hand. And I think even his pull-up shooting was not great either. He had pretty low efficiency on off-the-dribble jumpers, and sometimes kind of poor framework, footwork and balance. So he's a very polarizing prospect in this class. I think I may be gravitating towards the preseason hype and the hype he had last summer, and I still believe there's a lot of potential in here. But he can like showcase some of these step back threes, and it looks so fluid and it looks very comfortable out there. I just would take him late lottery, early non-lottery. It's just like, I don't love him to Atlanta. San Antonio's not taking him at 14. So like, there's not a lot of late lottery teams I love for Nolan Traore, but I don't mind him at 15 or 16 to Orlando. I don't mind him to Miami. I don't mind him to Minnesota and some of those teams here in the first round. So he's just missing out on the top 5. So coming in, though, at number 4, I have Jeremiah Fears. I think somebody I'm also a little bit lower on than consensus. One of the worst guard prospects finishing at the rim, which is a little scary. Sub 45% from finishing at the rim, and I mentioned it before, but like Dylan Harper was 60+% finishing at the rim. Different in size, but hey, you'd like for him to be a little bit better. Now, Oklahoma was not a great team overall, but hey, he brought them to the tournament. He shot 43% from the field, 28% from 3, 85% from the free throw line, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He was a one and done this past year. Now, if I pull up his numbers, in high school, as a freshman, he shot 20% from 3. Sophomore year, 40% from 3. 2023 in his junior year, 26% from 3. And then 2024 in his senior year, 26% from 3. So a lot of bad shooting years in high school, and then he just shot 27% from 3 in his first year of college basketball. And the defense was actually a little bit better at Oklahoma when he was off the floor. He's not like a small guard by any means, but he's not like the biggest, most imposing guard out there. He kind of reminds me also a little bit of Andrew Nembhard, where he can kind of do a little bit of like, I don't know, like a shoulder hit, like an elbow touch, like down low, a forearm push where he can create a little bit of separation. Like Nembhard does it, Cade does it, even OG does it. He's 6'2". He's got a 6'5" wingspan, 180 pounds. He's a little bit more of a development project, but I think his ability to operate in the pick and roll was very impressive. He can navigate ball screens very well. 31.9% usage percentage last year, second highest in this class, like incredibly high usage, only behind Eric Dixon. He had the 15th best free throw rate in this class, number one for guards that we're talking about here. And then I think his comp in a way is like a better court vision Jordan Poole. I think a better playmaker Jordan Poole as well. His playmaking is very promising, but I do think it needs a little bit of development. He averaged 4.1 assists to 3.4 turnovers. Sometimes his decision making could be a little bit inconsistent, but yeah, I think he can be a great pick and roll ball handler at the NBA level, and I do think he needs just time to grow and learn. There's some teams that I love for him. I would love him in Brooklyn. Don't mind him in Toronto. New Orleans, it's interesting if he's really going to get the full opportunity over there. And DC, I don't mind for him either. But, like, how is he looking in Houston if he doesn't get the time to grow over there? I don't really want to see him in Portland either. So, yeah, I think there's some good teams for Fears. There's some bad teams. Don't want to see him in Utah. And he's coming in at number 4. So, coming in at number 3 is somebody that is just, like, a little bit, I guess this is a hot take, because he may be considered like a 2, but I'm going to have him here as a 1, because I think, like, defensively you have to play him at a 1, because he's one of the smaller guys in this class, and that is Jace Richardson. I love watching Jace Richardson. He's about 6 foot. Without shoes, 6 foot and a half without shoes, 6'6" wingspan, 38 inch standing or max vert, and then he's 18 years old. He's the son of Jason Richardson. He's got incredibly hard work ethic. The red flag will be the height. We saw that last year with Rob Dillingham. It didn't affect his draft stock too much, but yeah, the undersized guard, it's tough defensively at the NBA level, but 60% at the rim on 55 attempts this year. He had a better at the rim field goal percentage than Jeremiah Fears, who we just talked about. Richardson really didn't get a ton of playing time and a ton of shots to start off the season at Michigan State, but got it as the season went along. 25 minutes a game total on the year, 49% from the field, 41% from 3, 83% from the free throw line, 12 points, 3.3 rebounds, 2 assists. He's a combo guard. He's an undersized combo guard. He could basically be Colin Sexton. Maybe he could be Malcolm Brogdon as well, who doesn't have as much size, but plays in a similar way where he can be super efficient, make good decisions at the NBA level. The defense for Michigan State wasn't that much better with him off the floor. But yeah, just 84 threes this year and shooting 40%. He was great in transition, 24 rim attempts and 79% on those rim attempts. And he's one of 5 players to have a box plus minus greater than 10 and a 60% true shooting. The other 4 are bigs and wings, which is really impressive. Kalkbrenner, Clifford, Murray Boyles, and Dylan Cardwell. So he has basically wing and big level efficiency for somebody that's 6 foot. He can hit incredibly difficult shots. And I just think sometimes he could be a little bit too left-handed dominant. So we'll see how he's going to look with his offhand at the NBA level. And it's just his defense. Is he somebody that you could never have on the floor? Because if he could just be serviceable on that end, I think he's worth almost a top 10 pick in this draft. That's how close I have him up on my big board, coming in at number 3. And then coming in at number 2, I don't know if this is a hot take, but I'm still high on Kasper Shakuchonis. I know people are going to look at the turnovers last year at Illinois, or maybe look at the end of the year where he didn't kind of have a high workload on the ball. He averaged 3.7 turnovers, and it's not great. He averaged 4.7 assists, 5.7 rebounds, 44 from the field, 31 from 3, 84% from the free throw line, 15 points for the Fighting Illini. About 19 years old, 6'4", almost 6'5", 6'7", wingspan. And he's just, I think he's like way twitchier, way more elusive than Yegor Demin. He's a way better shooter than Yegor Demin as well. But I just think like the pros are there. Like he was efficient inside the arc, 55% on 2s, to his 32% on 3s. He did average a lot of turnovers. He reminds me a little bit of Goran Dragic in a way. And I do think his high usage rate and his experimental passes did allow for a lot of turnovers, but some of them are just like teammates not maybe making the right reads, going the right way on the floor, or just not fully catching the ball, which maybe they should. I just trust his free throw percentage being elite, or his free throw rate or percentage, being elite. He's a good free throw shooter. I think he's going to be a fine enough 3-point shooter. He could draw fouls, which is very encouraging as an indicator for shooting upside at the NBA level. I just think, like it's the turnovers. I think coaching is going to play a lot into Kasperis, but he has size. shooting upside. I don't mind the defense. I don't think it's a negative by any means. It's not perfect. And he's super competitive. He knows the fundamentals. If he gets a little bit stronger, I think he's smart enough on that end, and he's got good rotations where, yeah, if he's not shooting the ball well and he's turned the ball over a lot, he could be Killian Hayes 2.0, but I think he's going to be a good enough shooter. I think he could be a 1 or 2. You can play him on ball, you can play him off the ball, and I'm really excited to watch Kasparas at the NBA level. I would take him as high as 6 to Washington. I like him more than Jeremiah Fears. I think they're very comparable in positions. Jace Richardson's a little bit different, I think, offensively. I just have him here because he's 6 foot. I just don't know if you can really trust him as a shooting guard at the NBA level. And I think Jace, I didn't mention it before, but like perfect fit would be Orlando. I like Kasparas to Washington. I like Kasparas to Brooklyn and New Orleans. I don't mind him to Toronto or Houston either. Heck, even Portland, I don't mind also. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Kasparas. So a little bit of a hot, different take. I have him at number 2. Number 1, though, pretty obvious. It's Dylan Harper. I mentioned him multiple times so far here. He's the clear 1-1 point guard in this class. I think he's going to be a point guard at the NBA when it's all said and done, but maybe he'll get shooting guard reps more in San Antonio playing with Castle and Fox. I think if he's out there with Castle, he's going to be the 1, but if he's out there with Fox, he'll be the 2. He was one of the top high school recruits, number 3 behind Ace Bailey and Cooper Flagg. He averaged 19.4 points for Rutgers, 4 assists and 4.5 rebounds, 48% from the field, 33% from 3 on 5.2 attempts a night, and 75% from the free throw line. There's so many pros to Dylan Harper's game. Just 6'5" with a 6'10" wingspan at 19 years old for a point guard. Everything you want in a modern day point guard or combo guard. 67.2% true shooting in transition, 65% field goal percentage at the rim, which is incredible. On 107 attempts, 73% in the restricted area. That's basically like a rim running one-dimensional big good, like Kaman Maluwatch. He's got a great assist to turnover rate for one of the higher usage guards in the class. And then he's also shot 36.8% on catch and shoot threes and 47.8% on unguarded threes as well, which is really encouraging. It's just like that pull-up shooting. A little bit inconsistent at times. How is that going to be? He shot basically on contested threes, 26%. He shot 29% on those pull-up threes and 26% on pull-up twos. So if he could work on the pull-up game, he could be one of the best players, not just like in this class, but in the NBA one day as well. Reminds me of James Harden, reminds me of Jalen Brunson, reminds me of Cade Cunningham. A little bit of each. I would say more so Cade than all those guys in total. I'm interested to see what he's going to look defensively. Like at Rutgers, it was pretty much improve your draft stock, get your shots, worry about defense kind of later on. He's got the body, he's got the physicality to be a good defender on that end of the floor. We'll see how that develops. I think San Antonio is a great spot for him to develop on the defensive end of the floor, but I think we're going to see how that's going to look over the course of his career. But he's by far and away the best point guard prospect in this class. So let's just recap this real quick. Honorable mention 17, RJ Lewis. Honorable mention 16, Chucky Hepburn. Mark Sears at 15 out of Alabama, 14 Javon Small out of West Virginia, 13 Ryan Nembhard out of Gonzaga, 12 Kobe Sanders out of Nevada, 11 Hunter Salas out of Wake Forest, 10 Tyrese Proctor out of Duke, 9 Cam Jones out of Marquette, 8 Walter Clayton out of Florida, 7 Ben Seraph out of Ratio Farm, 6 Yegor Demon out of BYU, 5 Nolan Traore out of St. Quentin, 4 Jeremiah Fears out of Oklahoma, 3 Jace Richardson out of Michigan State, Kasparas Shakuchonis, number 2 out of Illinois, and Dylan Harper, number 1 out of Rutgers. I just spent the last 50 minutes talking to myself, basically, and to you guys, so I hope you did enjoy my top 15 point guard rankings for the 2025 draft. Let me know what you agree with or disagree with on the YouTube. If you did enjoy, and I appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. A lot of work goes into kind of just watching these guys, running up my reports, and just kind of mapping this out for you guys in a pod. If you can hit that rating and follow button on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, it could really help the pod grow, and you can be on the lookout for the top 15 shooting guards. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.